Hey everybody, this is Nick from Cameta Camera, and I'm coming to you from single-digit temperatures here in New York to bring you some tips. And today's tips are how to keep your camera and other gear warm when you're shooting in frigid conditions like this. Now, most electronics will work fine when you're shooting in cold conditions, but eventually you're going to encounter some problems. For example, your lithium-ion batteries won't work so well in the cold, and you might have some problems with your LCD screen. And furthermore, plastic can get pretty brittle when you're outside in the cold, and lots of cameras are made from plastic. So unless you have a professional level camera, shooting out in the cold is something you might not want to do. But if you do, here's some tips on how to keep it nice and warm. Well, number one, wear yourself a nice cozy jacket and keep your camera inside. Now this works well when you're using a neck strap, so you can keep your camera nice and close to your body. Now, if you're sweating a lot and you're getting really humid in there, you probably don't want to do that because you don't want to get condensation on your camera. But if you're just walking around, this is probably the best way to keep your camera warm and your battery levels up. So keep the camera close to the vest, so to speak. Now, if you're not using a neck strap, if you happen to be carrying around a case like this one, but you still want to be able to keep your camera as warm as possible. Now, it'll have some protection and insulation from the wind and the cold temperatures, but that might not be enough. So one thing you can do is get yourself some hot hands, some little hand warmers. Now these are activated by air, so you can just pull these out of the package and put them into your camera case. It may not give you a whole lot of warmth, but just a couple degrees might make a difference. And one way to make sure that you get as much warmth out of it as possible is to sort of put it right next to your camera's battery compartment. Now this Nikon has the battery compartment over here on the right side, so if I keep these right next to that, it should give me some better battery life as I go through my shooting out here in the freezing cold temperatures. Another thing to do is to keep a spare battery in a warm place. So a good spot would be in your pants pocket. So this is going to be significantly warmer in my pants pocket than it would be in a jacket pocket or just floating around in my case. So keep one of these close to your body. And another important thing is when you're ready to go back inside, you don't want to get condensation on your camera, because going from one extreme temp to another is going to give you condensation possibly on your lens, on your LCD screen, on your viewfinder, and maybe even in the components inside your camera, and you definitely don't want that. So one thing you can do is take your camera, before you go inside, put it in a freezer bag. So as long as you have one of these around, you give yourself a nice airtight seal, you can prevent humid air, like in your house, from getting onto the components of your camera. So make sure you do this before you go inside. Even if your hands are numb, it's definitely worth it. Bring your camera inside, let it warm up, and you shouldn't have any problems with condensation. So that's about it. Those are my tips. I'm going back inside and happy shooting for the rest of the winter.